Friend, you are not
Martin Luther King Jr. But that doesn't mean you can't learn from him. So in this video, we're going to be breaking down one of Martin Luther King Jr.'s speeches, learning some lessons, specifically 10 lessons that we as preachers can take in our preaching and learn how to communicate the message of Jesus in a better, more powerful way. Shall we? We're going to jump in right after he was introduced and after he's done some just kind of introductory words to the audience. He's speaking to, I believe, some middle schoolers. And so he's doing the typical guest speaker kind of introduction and thankful for being there and all that stuff. So now he's about to get started. So let's dig in.
I want to ask you a question, and that is, what is in your life's blueprint? This is the most important and crucial period of your lives.
Okay, so two things he just did right off the bat. First, he started his speech with a question. He started it with a question. We as human beings cannot help but pay attention to questions. Why? Because as soon as someone asks a question, even if they're not talking to us, we start to process how we would answer it. And so he starts out in an engaging kind of way with asking these kids, these students, what is your life's blueprint? And then he follows it up with the second thing. He builds tension. Did you notice what he said? This is one of the most formative times of your lives. In other words, hey, this is important. What we're about to talk about, what I'm about to say, it is vitally important for you to hear. And so two things right off the bat. Start with the question, talk about the importance of the topic.
What you do now and what you decide now at this age may well determine which way your life shall go. And whenever a building is constructed, you usually have an architect who draws a blueprint. And that blueprint serves as the pattern, as the guide, as the model for those who are to build the building. And a building is not well erected without a good, sound, and solid blueprint. Now, each of you is in the process of building the structure of your lives.
Okay. Third thing that he just did is not only did he, in the point number 2, right, he told them the weight of the subject, of the importance of what he's talking about, but now he just used a very simple illustration and showed them. He used an illustration to show them the weight of what he's talking about. Just like an architect would craft and build and design the foundation of a building, and then that's the first thing that would go. You right now are building the foundation of your life. So simple, so powerful.
And always feel that your life has ultimate significance. Now that means that you should not be ashamed of your color. You know, it's very unfortunate that in so many instances, our society has placed a stigma on the Negro's color. And you know, there are some Negroes who are ashamed of themselves. But don't be ashamed of your color. Don't be ashamed of your biological features. Somehow you must be able to say in your own lives and really believe it, I am black but beautiful. And believe.
Listen to this. Did you just hear what he said? That was him crafting and delivering a sticky statement, a bottom line, the truth that will go so deep into these students' lives, into their hearts. I am black but beautiful. It's so simple. It's alliterated. I am black but beautiful. It has a flow. And not only is it crafted nicely as a sentence, it's true. It's true, and that right there, that kind of a sentence could change someone's life. So when we are preaching, let's make sure that we are taking that truth that the scriptures are showing and boil it down to a point that can go right to the person who's hearing us, right to their heart.
Secondly, in your life's blueprint, you must have as a basic principle the determination to achieve excellence in your various fields of endeavor. Doors are opening to each of you. Doors of opportunity are opening to each of you that were not open to your mothers and to your fathers. And the great challenge facing you is to be ready to enter these doors as they open.
Okay, did you notice what he just did? He went to point number 2, and then he briefly illustrated it with doors of opportunity opening, and then he applied it by saying, you must walk through the doors. It's so simple. But by doing that, he's placing them in the truth of what he's describing. Now, this is not a sermon, but he's still helping them to see what he means, to see what they're supposed to do. When you have an opportunity that's a door opening, walk through the door. And he does this throughout the speech. He illustrates and he applies the truths that he is speaking to them.
It falls your lot to be a street sweeper. Sweep streets like Michelangelo painted pictures. Sweep streets like Beethoven composed music. Sweep streets like Leontine Price sings before the Metropolitan Opera. And sweep streets like Shakespeare wrote poetry. Sweep streets so well that all the host of heaven and earth will have to pause and say, here lived a great street sweeper who swept his job well. If you can't be a pine on the top of the hill, be a scrub in the valley. But be the best little scrub on the side of the rill. Be a bush if you can't be a tree. If you can't be a highway, just be a trail. If you can't be the sun, be a star. For it isn't by size that you win or you fail. Be the best of whatever you are.
Another illustration. So good. So, that's powerful. That is so good. I hope we are spending time paying attention to how he is crafting these illustrations, because these illustrations are what make a sermon, a speech, anything even more powerful, even more memorable.
We already have some noble examples of black men and black women who demonstrated to us that human nature cannot be cataloged. They in their own lives have walked through long and desolate nights of oppression, and yet they've risen up and plunged against cloud-filled nights of affliction, new and blazing stars of inspiration. And so from an old slave cabin of Virginia's hills, Booker T. Washington rose up to be one of America's great leaders. He lit a torch in Alabama, and darkness fled in that setting. Yes, you should know this because it's in your own city. From a poverty-stricken area of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Marian Anderson rose up to be the world's greatest contralto, so that a Toscanini could say that a voice like this comes only once in a century. And Sibelius of Finland could say, my roof is too low for such a voice. But I believe as we struggle with these problems, we've got to struggle with them with a method, that can be militant, but at the same time does not destroy life or property. And so our slogan must not be burn, baby, burn. It must be build, baby, build. Organize, baby, organize.
So a couple things as we are getting to the end of his speech. When he applies, he typically starts broad and then he zooms in. He gives a bunch of examples of how black young people, black people of all ages, need to take dignity with their own lives and see the personhood that they have. And he gives a bunch of examples of different people in society who have risen up and have shown the beauty that they have. And he gives a bunch of examples, and then he says, hey, this is you as well. And then beyond that, so in addition, he creates urgency with his application. It's important. He's talking about something that they need to apply not someday when, but now. So is our application urgent enough? Is it something so important that it applies to their day and time right there, right now? Like this starts, the sermon ends maybe on Sunday at noon, but it starts, like them applying it starts even maybe during the sermon and right afterward. Can they start applying it? He creates urgency with that. And now he's about to conclude with inspiration. He's going to conclude with inspiration by reading from a poem.
Well, son, I'll tell you, life for me ain't been no crystal stad. It's had tacks in it. Boards torn up, places with no carpet on the floor, bare. But all the time, I's been a climbing on and reaching landings and turning corners and sometimes going in the dark where there ain't been no light. So, boy, don't you stop now. Don't you sit down on the steps 'cause you find this kind of hard. But I's still going, boy. I's still climbing. And life for me ain't been no crystal stair. Well, life for none of us has been a crystal stair. But we must keep moving. We must keep going. If you can't fly, run. If you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, crawl, but by all means, keep moving.
You see that? That is just so good. This is what he said. This is from that inspiration part of the poem. If we must keep moving, we must keep going. If you can't fly, run. If you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, crawl. But by all means, keep moving. So a couple more things from what he did throughout that speech. Now, obviously, in this video, I didn't show you every part of that speech. If you want to check it out, the link will be in the description below. But number 9, the 9th thing that we need to learn from Martin Luther King Jr.'s speech that we just watched bits of is to vary your voice and vary your cadence. He is a master at doing that. There were highs and there were lows. There were slow moments and there were fast moments. His cadence in and of itself, normal cadence, has an ability to bring you in to each word. And he doesn't just do it slow like that, but he speeds it up. So he varied it as well. And the 10th thing that I hope you noticed is that all throughout that time, his focus was on the people he was speaking to. The focus was on the people he was speaking to. His eyes were right there. He was not referencing notes. He wasn't focused on what he needed to say. He was just simply saying it right to the people. And there was a connection right there. And you could tell by the energy in the room that they not only knew who he was, but they were hearing what he's saying and they were dialed in. They were connected to what he was saying. So what if we could take all of these lessons and apply it to our own messages? I believe we can. Hey, if this video has been helpful to you, be sure to hit the like button, hit subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Also, would love to send you a free gift just for getting this point in the video, rookiepreacher.com/guide. There you can get a 10-step guide to writing a sticky sermon. And to go along with that, don't you just love when your camera just overheats right in the middle of you doing a video? That's awesome. Well, good thing I was at the end. And before you go, make sure you check out this video right here, because if you want to design and write write messages like what we just watched that are memorable, that stick with people, you're going to want to definitely check out this video. It's talking about how to structure a sticky sermon. I'll see you there. You can go ahead and click it now. Okay.